I mean, you look at Bitcoin, which is, surging. The news this week was Tesla bought $1.5 billion. You have Tesla now. You have MicroStrategy. You talked about a company that few people know, right? Mass Mutual.
Yeah.
Right. That bought it. I mean,
big insurance conglomerate. That was a little while ago. I think maybe even the end of last year. But they put $100 million into it, which for them is next to nothing. I know their investable assets are well over $2 billion. So percentage wise, it's not a big deal. But Frank and I were talking, and did you just forget about it, or did you not hear about it? Because I remember you were shocked. You're like, wait a minute, Mass Mutual bought Bitcoin?
I didn't know that when you told me. You
said,
I'm like, Mass Mutual did? And you said, yeah. I was like,
yeah, I mean, that's one of the most, it doesn't, and I'm biased here because of my insurance background and my interest and passion for some of those products. There is no more longer term thinking and more safety first mentality, in my opinion, than mutual insurance companies like Mass Mutual. So the fact that they do that, it wasn't as big of a headline as I thought. I thought I would see it more places, but the fact that they did it, kind of dipped their toe into that is amazing. And then of course you have the high flyers, the big followers like Elon Musk with all the Twitter people. Man, how impressive is it? You move markets. I'll suck up here and give you some credit. You can move some markets on some gold stocks and things like that, but Elon Musk is moving Bitcoin's market. I mean, that's impressive. I mean, you got to give that little bit of a run up yesterday to his credit. I mean, I can't absolutely prove that, but I think it plays an important role.
And he's promoting Dogecoin again, which is like a joke. And Mark Cuban came on and said the same thing. Now,
I know, it's wild. Like,
there's so much shit in that space, and I hope that a lot of that stuff is starting to move higher. There's a lot of speculation. Remember, guys, in a lot of these tokens, it's not like our token with CEO token where you get equity stake and you're getting paid a dividend, right? We paid 3 straight quarters of dividends, and we're going to we intend on continuing to pay that dividend. You don't get an equity stake. You don't get anything in these names. So be very careful. I mean, if they get someone buys their company, then it means nothing to you. You don't get anything. But more important is they're not, the reason why they're trading on exchanges outside of Coinbase and outside the US is because they don't have to show the financials. They show that they raised $20 million. You have no idea if they still have it, what they did with it. Is it in Ethereum and Bitcoin still, which would be great. But also they lost 80-90% because a lot of these people raised money in 2017 or 2018 before crypto crashed. But
hey, that's negative. We don't want to hear negative.
We just want to
buy and go up.
You want to be careful. You don't want to be stupid and just go into anything that anyone says, because a lot we're seeing the power of social media firsthand, where you get a mass of millions of people going together to with GameStop, which is now, man, I didn't look at it today, but it went below 60.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I think they said they hit 500 for like a second or something, but it was 300 for a while, and now this is what happens. I mean, we don't know, it's worth less than $10. It is going to get back down there. It just matters when. But it's a lot of people that are getting smoked on it right now, which is pretty sad, right? I mean, it's
yeah. I mean, it is a bummer. Like we've talked over the last couple of weeks, some people are going to make money and do good things. A lot of people are going to get hurt, and some of them are going to leave forever. Some of them will get back up and try again. That's all good in the macro picture to me. Speaking of GameStop, we talked about this a little bit last week, Frank. In the world we live in, it's not a big deal for companies to kind of hedge, and Bitcoin isn't near as crazy as what it once was a few years ago with all the hedge funds and now more companies buying in. Low-hanging fruit. A, why didn't GameStop raise money at a higher price? And B, why don't they announce that they're buying Bitcoin?
You know what? I don't know.
I mean, let's keep the saga going. What the hell?
They could have raised, I mean, the market cap was inflated. What was it? To like 25, 30 billion or whatever it was. From just a few hundred million, I believe. But it was amazing to me that, why don't you use the opportunity to raise money at least and get into, digital gaming or whatever,
Because in their defense over this time, they have made some popular headlines about hiring people. I think they got an engineer from Amazon's AWS, Amazon Web Services division. Of course, that's huge. It just shocked me. And then I want to ask you, Frank, you had a good, frankly speaking, question last week on what would you do if you were the CEO of IBM. But if you were a company who, let's say you're an activist investor, who are you going to buy stock in and force them to tell them to go buy Bitcoin and get a 20% stock rise?
I mean, I used IBM as a great example because it's just this disgustingly slow grower, and now they're spinning off, right? They're I won't say garbage, but just like their business that's pretty steady. It brings in decent cash flow, but, is not growing and hasn't been growing for 10 years. And now, their cloud, their data analytics and everything, that's exciting stuff. They're spinning that off. They just got a new CEO. They're a lot of good things. You know what? They are one of the first into blockchain with Watson. Why not spend some of that cash? You have a dividend that's over 5%. It's $5.5 billion, cut it in half to 2.5%, and then take that $2.5 billion, invest some of it in Bitcoin. Now it's not just, I want to invest in Bitcoin, like almost like you want to put .com at the end of the name, but it provides excitement for your stock. It creates a level of that younger generation excitement, right? When you buy technology, look at Cisco. All right, you own Cisco, yeah, forever. It's boring, but look at how Microsoft innovated. Look how Amazon innovates. Look at Netflix innovation. All these companies who innovate and exciting. There's no excitement around IBM, but that would add excitement along with the spinoff, which is coming. And it's a dirt cheap stock. It should be, because it's not really growing that fast, but it will when they separate. And I think IBM is perfect for that. And not just IBM. There's a lot of, you're looking at $1 trillion in free cash flow that was generated over the last 12 months. That's free cash flow, right? So if you just take the cash balances, $2.5 trillion in cash and marketable securities, say if 1% of that goes in, right? You're looking at 25 million, 2%, going into Bitcoin is 50 million. You're looking at 6% of the market cap of Bitcoin, right? So, and not even talking about the trillion in cash flow, but imagine if some of these companies decide to put 1% of their money in there, Daniel. And why would they do that? Because you're losing money keeping it in cash, and it continue to destroy the dollar, right? So, what are you going to do? Maybe you buy a little bit of gold. I don't know. But, now as liquid as Bitcoin is, that way you can get in and out of it, it's just, what are you going to do? You're buying bonds. High yield bonds. So the largest inflows, like fourth largest ever. You've seen, but again, a lot of these bonds have negative rates. Cash with inflation, you're losing money. So they're like, all right, let's put a little cash into something else. And to me, it does make sense. But if that trend happens, man, Bitcoin's going right to 100,000.
Yeah, absolutely.
No question. But who would you think? Like, what would be a company that you would think that should actually?
I think the low-hanging fruit, GameStop was kind of tongue-in-cheek. I think that's one that you would play in order to just stay in the headlines and all that kind of stuff. The low-hanging fruit, I think, is the FANG stocks. Including Netflix, Facebook, all those guys, just because they have so much cash to do with. It's basically a risk-free trade. I don't think their stock's going to get punished for putting a little bit of money in there. I think it would get rewarded. And even if the volatility and all that, and it goes to zero, it's not going to make Apple or Facebook any difference, or Google, if they lost $1 billion or $2 billion. Mm-hmm. But you throw those kind of rocks into the Bitcoin pool, as you said, you're going to make some waves. And then a fan favorite of ours in CRA, Curzio Research Advisory, Take-Two, the video games. I think that's easy to branch into. If you could release the new Grand Theft Auto and have Bitcoin in it, hell, that's awesome.
Yeah, payments, that's why Grand Theft Auto 5 is, how many years old?
Still like the greatest selling video game.
It sells like crazy because, they have all these add-ons. You go in there and you buy, it's kind of like, Fortnite with all these add-ons, but imagine if you could use Bitcoin now.
Yeah.
And the gaming companies, it does make sense too, because you are going to get a little bit of a look what MicroStrategy, it wasn't like, hey, MicroStrategy decided to go into Bitcoin and, and all right, good for them. Their stock was below 200. It went to 1250 yesterday. It's probably lower. Again, Bitcoin's down like 4% today.
Yep.
After coming close to 49, I think it was, 1,000. I don't know. I just, to me, it makes sense for a lot of these companies. MicroStrategy, it made sense to them. And now he had a conference last week. I think I mentioned, either in Frankly Speaking on a podcast, I mentioned someplace that I think it was 8,000 people and 6,000 were CEOs of companies looking to know more about, the regulations behind owning Bitcoin as a business and how you could do it. And that many people were interested. Again, these aren't maybe a few Fortune 500 companies, but, whatever, just to sign up, and that's out there. And that is definitely not factored into Bitcoin, where if people do buy this at a limited supply, you could see it go a lot higher. It's going to be fluctuating. Again, it's down 4 or 5% today. It's up tremendously over the past 4 or 5 months, 12,000, like 40,000, 45,000. But, for some of these companies, it makes sense. But you're right. The gaming companies, why wouldn't you do that? Right?
Yeah, I don't think it's a far stretch. I certainly don't think, and I know you don't take this either, Tesla's not going to be the last company to make this announcement or to do this. I don't think that's a far stretch at all. So, yeah, volatility should be looked at trading opportunities, especially with the stocks that have exposure. We've talked about Silvergate, Hive Blockchain in the past. Overstock has some exposure with the cryptocurrency trading and such. So, yeah, got to make money while the sun shines, and it's very bright on that spot right now. So,
and yeah, you mentioned MicroStrategy. Hive Technologies is another one. I was an early investor in that. I sold a little bit of that position, but I sold most of it, lower than it is today. and they mine for Ethereum, and it's Frank Holmes' company, great guy. That's a pure play, right? Because a lot of people focus on MicroStrategy has gone higher, but we have 2 stocks that we really like. I mean, actually 3 of them, and we can go there because a lot of these we have it in a crypto portfolio, which is I'm not going to give too much away here, but Silvergate Capital we recommended at 12, and it went over 100, right? So up over 800%. Voya Digital is another one that does, mining, and we got that at 86 cents. Again, take it a little aggressive there, and it's over $8.
Yeah,
I mean, there's pure plays out there. You have to find them. We find them because we're in these industries. But a lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to buy MicroStrategy, I'm going to buy PayPal, I'm going to buy Square. There's a lot of really cool pure plays, and again, they're going to be risky. These things could move 20-30%. But just like, who was it that tweeted out? Was it? I don't know if it was. I forgot who tweeted out just talking about Bitcoin. Well, they own MicroStrategy. Oh, Citron Research. Remember you told me Citron Research tweeted out and said, hey, we told you about MicroStrategy. And,
yep, good call.
And how much was it up compared to Bitcoin?
I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like since they made their call, Citron meaning, Bitcoin is up over 100%, but MicroStrategy was up over 300%.
Yeah.
So definitely outgaining that.
Yeah, so it's not just buying
Signature
Bitcoin.
Bank is another one. I don't know if we've talked a whole lot about that one, but it's been on my list. SBNY, Signature Bank. I don't want to say it's exactly like Silvergate, but crypto exposure, clients, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, keep those on a watch list. That thing has moved that thing's gone from under 100 to over 200. So in the last few months.
Yeah, and Silvergate was just a name I'm familiar with. Just I love the CEO has a background from Wall Street and said, listen, this makes sense, blockchain, cryptos, and we're going to go all in. And he, again, you look like an idiot. People are like, really? That's what you're doing? You're going all in? And now look at him. Right. And now people are like, trying to become them, saying, all right, we need to add payment systems. We need to have banking systems where we can use convert this stuff over to cash and make it easy for companies. But, their business is booming. Things are great for them. And they got into that market at least 3 years ago, right? Probably earlier. That's when we first, started hearing about it. But, it's just cool to see where, I bet you he got a lot of flack from people he knows in the industry that he grew up around saying, are you crazy? Really? This is what you want to base your whole business model on? Now look, and it just goes to say what we said earlier in the podcast was sometimes, people are going to be like, wow, you're an idiot for doing that. That's not the worst thing because that means you're doing something really, really different. And, if you're right, it could really pay off, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's how you disrupt markets and make a name for yourself and hopefully become really successful and be able to do whatever you want. That's the whole dream.